Antiques don't like heights, so I'll just stand here if you don't mind. You know, we decay, we decrepitude. Every challenge is a new one. I'm honored to be here with all of you and to celebrate Annie, especially an historical occasion. I guess I have to make a lot of historical references. So first off, you'll probably notice, if not, make sure you look at the flower display on your table and you look at the label on that. And that is Annie's father's label from his vineyard. So you have already some antique history. I haven't known Annie as long as some of you, but I've known her since 1989. Was privileged to know her father and mother as well. And literally probably for 80 years or so now, the Vercellis have been both not only part of this community, but contributing and very important members. Joe, of course, would organize things like the barrel roll in the river, and of course known for his hospitality at the many wineries he was at, or the many famous wineries, I should say, he was at. And Annie, of course, with her support of the food bank locally, but also her teaching for many years, and her work at the various festivals and fairs and judgings that we have in town. She seems to be in all of, I should say, in the county. She seems to be not only there, but to Sacramento. She even go East Coast judging wine, so she is literally a national figure at this point. So it's also appropriate that we honor Annie tonight at a meal, because of course food and wine is the heart of the Vercelli family and the heart of their history as well. And you all have cell phones, I'm sure, and you all have apps on your cell phones. Now, many of you have probably had the privilege of having a meal at the Vercelli family. And you know, of course, it's just probably a cut above In and Out. You know, you drive in, get your meal, and leave in 10, 15 minutes later. Obviously, that's not the Vercelli house. You may drive in at 6 o'clock, but you'll drive out about 10. Not hungry, and surely not quenched for needing to quench anything else. But all of us, of course, if you've been at her house, you see this tiny little kitchen. And you always wonder, how is it that Annie Vercelli could produce all of this incredible food out of that tiny little kitchen? There are many miracles in life, of course. That could be one, but I mentioned about apps. Annie has a cell phone, and she has an app on her cell phone too. It's called DoorDash. So I just want to thank Annie and her family for all the wonderful things they have done for us in this community over the years, and look forward to many wonderful meals in the future provided by DoorDash. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. I'm sure Annie thanks you too. Father Gary Lombardi.
Stand up here.
Sure.
Yep. Well, I am Father Gary Lombardi, and I came to Healdsburg in 1968, before it became what it is today. The only thing I remember that is still here when I was there was John and Zeke. So I met Annie and Joan Levia in 1968, and almost from the beginning I was a guest at their house, and Annie, I forget where I don't know where there you are there. You can ask Annie how many times I've eaten there. She knows exactly how many times and what I ate and what my comments were. I certainly, after about 8 bottles of wine, I kind of forget what it was all about. I am delighted. And Annie told me that I have 4 minutes, and you know, for a priest, that's not long. After about 10 minutes, I'm just getting warmed up. Ask Loretta Bracco over at St. Vincent. But anyway, so I have 3 points. The first is simply that I am delighted that Annie is being honored tonight. She's always in the background. She's always in the kitchen. Father Sean invited me to a fish fry a few months ago at St. John's, and he said, Annie's going to be there. I said, that's great. I thought maybe I'd sit at her table. When I saw her, she had her apron on, and she was cooking the meal. And I had her over for dinner the other night at the house with Sean and another priest. And of course, at a certain point, she gets up, clears off the dishes, stacks them, and serves dessert. So it's wonderful that for a change, she's not in the kitchen and she's the center of attention, and she deserves to be. The second thing is that when Annie, we had lunch a few months ago at Cucina Paradiso in Petaluma, and she asked me to say a few words tonight here. And the very first thought when she asked me, my mind went back to a ministry program that I had read about many years ago when I was up in Eureka, and I started that program. And as part of the program, the priest served a meal for the people who were participants in the program. And the title of the little thing that I had read was called, "There is Love in the Food." And it just struck me, in all of the meal planning, the shopping, the prepping, the cleaning, and the serving, the setting of the table, is really an act of love. And Annie loves to have people at her table. And I remember, Annie, you told me years ago that after a big meal at the Vercelli household, as Joe Vercelli would say, a Bacchic pilgrimage through the garden of viniferous and olfactory delights. Try saying that after 3 glasses of white wine. But after it was all done, when all the guests had been there and had left, Annie and her mother, Livia, would clean up and do the dishes, and they would reminisce about the meal and who was there and what they talked about and how it went. And I suspect Annie still does that. There is love in the food that she cooks. And finally, for the generation that raised Annie, that formed Annie, that trained her, and that she is still a part of, a meal is more than simply fueling up. It's a lot more than just, taking in nourishment. It's about a celebration of friendship, of family, and of love. Meals help people to celebrate, and they help to deepen bonds of relationship. I was reading something about the Eucharist, and the person said that meal sharing is person sharing. And she's devoted her life to helping people create moments that bring people together and deepen their bonds of friendship. So it's a wonderful thing to have been able to do that for all of your life, Annie. And for that and for a lot more, she's being justly recognized tonight, and I'm honored to be a part of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Father Gary.
59 seconds. You can eat. You may.
And now we would like to have Holly Hoods, who's the executive director and curator of the museum, say a few words.
This is the label her dad started, and we put it on the award as a special way to honor Anne and her family tonight. Father Gary, Father Sean, Tony, thank you for those kind words. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, family, friends, and fellow distinguished pioneers. I'd like to thank the museum for selecting me for this outstanding award. I'm honored to follow in the footsteps of previous pioneers who've made a profound impact on our community. I knew the first recipient very well. I called him Papa. I'd like to thank the sponsors who generously gave to make this wonderful occasion. A big shout out to Robert Young Winery for this beautiful setting and for all their hard work. I'd like to thank you, and I'd like to, above all, tell you that this is a testament to the values that guide our lives and values that have a positive impact on our community. This award is a celebration of the countless individuals who have contributed to our community's growth and well-being. It's a reminder to each of us that we have the ability to make the difference and to make things better. I thank you, and I also thank Healdsburg. There is no place quite like Healdsburg in the world. It is a remarkable town, and I am a product of this remarkable town. It is a place of heritage for wine, food, culture, and community input. By and large, without a doubt, I was born and raised here, and if any of my success, it is due for the opportunities that Healdsburg has given me. If I've made a contribution of note, hopefully it is in strengthening the hospitality of the food and wine industry. For 45 years, I've taught cooking and wine classes at Santa Rosa Junior College. And for 11 years, I taught with my papa, and it was a joy. It is heartwarming for me to introduce my students to the world of food and wine. And to every class, I read this quote. Cooking is not about being the best or the most perfect cook, but it is rather about sharing the table with family and friends. The table is a meeting place, a gathering ground, the source of sustenance and nourishment, festivity, safety, and satisfaction. A person cooking is a person giving. Even the simplest food is a gift. Thank you to each and every one of you for coming tonight. I cherish this wonderful honor. Thank you.
Thank you, and I'm very proud to have you be our honoree. And I'm very proud to have you be my friend.